welcome to the 100th episode of Schiller Shop. It's been about 2.5 years since I've gotten this car delivered, and my son is daily driving it. There's still lots of things to fix on it, but at least we're able to get it moving and actually enjoy, driving it for a little bit. So this video, I know it's kind of long. I tried to cut up the videos. I'm going to show you guys just a lot of the highlights over the last 2.5 years of what we've done. And I hope you guys enjoy it. Hopefully you can get through it. This is by far not everything that was done. And here you go. So the glutton for punishment that I am, I bought this 1983 Porsche 944 for $750. Doesn't start. I was told that it turns over. Looks like almost everything is here for the engine. I did get the headlights to pop up by twisting the motor. A little bit of rust right here. And I'm working on this with my son. Right now, the guy decided to power wash the car wash before he brought it over. And unfortunately, the seals are bad. So the inside of the car is all wet. We tried being nice. Some rust on the car. Kind of hit that a little bit. Doesn't appear to be all the way through right now. It's the wrong rims for the car. I have no idea what works and what doesn't work on the car. Interior. Door cards look like they're in actually pretty good shape. Passenger door does not open from the outside, but you can open it from the inside. Driver's side door does not open real easy from the outside. You got to kind of pull up on it, but it'll open just fine from the inside. Emergency brake, this is all rusted. It's been sitting in a field for 8 years. So I have no idea what we're going to encounter. So the first goal is going to be to see if we can just get it running. But right now it smells so bad. We're just trying to get some of the water out. The hatch does not open from the outside. So we'll have to take a look at that and see what's going on with that. But this was inside the car. Some parts to the car. The air intake does have the rear wiper. So we will just have to see. $750 doesn't buy you a lot, but it did get a 1983 944. So here was the fender, the passenger side fender that they had filled with Bondo, is what they had filled it with, along with that part on the door. But when I took the fender off, this is what I found underneath that fender. So I'm really glad I ended up having to take that off, because I might not have seen that had I not taken it off. I guess I would have when I painted it. Then also, this was the suspension coming out of the car, because once you get up underneath the car, I was checking the fuel lines to make sure everything was okay before I went ahead and started the car up. And as I was inspecting it, all of a sudden I found this little leak on the return line. So this is why I ended up going and having all those episodes of Fun with Fuel, of replacing all my fuel lines, and you'll see here in just a little bit of what that entailed.
Okay, so I took the fuel rail out of the car because I wanted to test the fuel injectors. Okay, so I've got my setup here to clean out the fuel injectors. Rick, you'll get a kick out of this. Gonzo, thank you very much for showing me how to do this. So basically, ketchup bottle from dollar store, a pack of 2 for $1. 5/16 inside diameter hose, a jar, and then I just used a 12-volt plug. All right, so finally I decided to go ahead and just get my tripod. So I am going to just squeeze this bottle, and then I will touch this and all right, so here we are. We're gonna start bending our first line. We're gonna see how this goes. I've never used a bending tool before, so we will see how that goes. So we got the first one done here, and I found it easier to actually bend it by hand rather than use the tool. It's soft enough that I really can kind of bend it by hand. And basically, I just taped it as I went along with all the bends. This one was the only one I'm worried about. I kind of crimped that line a little bit right there. I'm going to try to straighten that out maybe a little bit and go from there. All right, so I didn't like the fact that that line was crimped. So I went ahead and I learned how to use the bending tool. And actually, it did a really good job. Except that I practiced bending the line. And when I did, I didn't have enough. All right, well, third time is a charm. This one went much better. I had one little itty bitty crimp, but I'm not going to worry about it. But definitely using the bender definitely helped. You just got to take your time and go through it. You know, I got definitely better at it doing it, you know, 3 times. Well, 4 times with the other line. So all right, so now we got the second line. This one was the return line. Got this one done. A little easier to bend because it wasn't quite as thick. All right, I think we're going to try to fire it up. Got the fire extinguisher all handy. We are going to attempt the first startup in I don't know how long, but we're going to take a look here. This says it was registered in August of 2003. And it was inspected in August of 2003. So 17 years. Here we go.
This was a huge milestone. I mean, this was the first startup, and you know, those 13 years, 10 years, whatever it was, I was so happy.
Okay, so the front main seal came out. And if you remember, it was bubbly over here. It was bubbly over here. And as you can see, it was messed up all the way back. Well, I found out why. So underneath here, and I've already actually done a little bit of work on it. Hang on. So under here, what ended up happening was, I think they jammed a screwdriver in to get the seal out, and when they did, they damaged the outer ring here, and it was pushed up a little bit, and then instead of doing anything about it, they just took the seal and put it in, and that's what scarred it. So what I did was I took a pick, and I just picked real gently. You know, I started right on when it caught and just picked all that lip off, and then just took some 220 sandpaper and very lightly sanded it smooth. And now you don't really feel any kind of lip there. So it should seat, and I think I'm going to be okay because it's right at the edge here. So I just want to do a quick video here side by side. I'm glad I decided to change the water pump. Reason being is, you can see how easy that spins, right? This, not so easy. Got the belt guide on, and I got the roller on. I got the roller and the belt tension for the timing belt. All good. Good slack there. So the next step will be the balance shaft belt. Okay, balance shaft belt is on. So that is right on. I don't know if you can see it or not. That is right on. That one is right on. My tape is marked, is lined up. And I also checked the OT mark in there. So everything should be perfectly timed and tensioned. Get the fire extinguisher ready. Okay. Hopefully I got everything where it's supposed to be. We're going to see.
So that squeal you heard was the accessories belt that went to the compressor and the alternator and everything. So I actually took it off, and this is what it sounds like.
Well, I think we got some bad news. After all that, I'm not getting any compression. I don't know why. All of a sudden it died and just...
This was probably the most disappointing time I had. It was such a huge setback, but in the end, it turned out okay.
Okay, so trying to look at my timing again, and then decided just to take the distributor off, and the cap off, and now I've noticed that, and that is wiggly. Alright, so I took the rotor off and the part that plugs up the front, went and looked, and
There's that dreaded triple square bolt. I take my triple square, stick it in there. I haven't done anything else. I haven't broken it loose or anything. So as you can see, I'm just spinning this by hand. So whoever was in here last, probably the same people that did the front main seal on the oil pump that jammed the screwdriver in there, did not torque this bolt down, and it had backed out and became loose. So here's my cam sprocket, and as you can see, that Woodruff Cree just ground around inside there. And then also on the hub, you can see here how it ground out around the hub as well. So that meant bent valves, and it meant removing the head and rebuilding the top part of the engine. Okay, so it's time for the Hillbilly Hot Tank. So here's what we're going to try. We're going to have to flip it, obviously, because the pot's too small. But we got it on the grill. Got it in a pot. Got it filled with the simple green. And just start heating it up. All right. Well, there we go. I think that turned out great. That looks pretty. I mean, it's pitted. It's not going to be like getting it professionally done, but you know what? It's a lot cleaner, and it looks much, much better.
So, just want to take a little break from the video. Like I had said at the beginning, this isn't everything that was done on the car. I just wanted to kind of go through some of the other things that we did on the car that were not shown or are not going to be shown in this video. The brake rebuild, completely redid the brakes, rotors, rebuilt the calipers, brake lines in some cases, emergency brake, the cable had to be redone in the handle, the steering. All new tie rods. I greased the steering rack. All new bushings on the front as well. Clutch, new master cylinder, new slave cylinder, and bled that. The rear CV axles, took those out, completely rebuilt those. The front wheel bearings, took those out, completely rebuilt those. The valance. The front spoiler here, you know, the repairs that were made on that before. The reverse lights, that switch in the back on the transmission, that was a pain. The fuel sending unit, you know, I was able to clean that a couple of times, kind of worked, and then it all of a sudden didn't, and then the wires broke. So I ended up actually having to replace that. And then the other one was the seat covers and redoing those seats. That definitely made a big difference in the overall appearance. And then the rear hatch sealing. And, you know, part of these videos are not only the successes that I've had, it's also the failures and the things that didn't work. And that's something that, you know, we still have to address because it became delaminated again as well. So here's a little bit more of what I actually did. So this is the bolt that snapped off when I was trying to get the head off. It was the only one that did. I had soaked it in PB Blaster for a couple of weeks. I had kind of left it and just was worried about doing this. So we're going to try to get this out now.
Well, nope. It snapped off. Son of a bitch. All right, so we got our punch set and we got our extractor set. And today it's going to be trying to get that bolt out. All right, so the hole is drilled. All right, time to put the extractor in and see what happens. Now, shit. That extractor snapped off inside there. Now I just gotta try drilling the whole damn thing out and hope I don't ruin my block. Well, I'm just tearing this sucker up so bad trying to get this frickin' bolt out to drill that out and put that the helicoil in there. So, and we will give that a shot today. All right, so it's drilled, and that now goes in. So now I'm going to try to put the helicoil in, and we'll see how this goes. Well, it is in. So what I'll do is I will put the head on, make sure it gets down tight enough. Well, success. It's in there, and it's in there tight. So I'm going to try to clean up my valves. I got new exhaust valves, but so this is an exhaust valve, so I'm going to start with this one and see. So we start off with the Scotch-Brite, and then we wet sand through different grits of sandpaper. So we're going to see how this comes out. All right, well, I think that worked pretty well. So this is what it kind of looked like before, and that's what it looks like after, and that's only with actually 800 grit sandpaper. I mean, yeah, so there's a comparison of a brand new exhaust valve and then the polished intake valve of mine. All right, there we go, all shiny and looking brand new. So no wobbles on those, so they all were straight. So I found this interesting too. So I would assume that, see how that wobbles? Now these are my exhaust valves, and I'm wondering if that little bit of a wobble is because that valve is bent just a little bit, because you would think it should turn smooth, but we'll see. Okay, so here's exhaust valve number 2. See the wobble? The intake valves didn't do that, so that's 1 and 2 for the exhaust valves. There's valve number 3. Not as much, but you can still see it wobbling. Here's exhaust valve number 4. Yeah, tell me that's not bent. So, stick them in and see if we get a blue ring all the way around, and I'll show you that after I'm there. But it does seat around the whole thing. So
so here I am just putting the head back together. This was the last valve. I actually got pretty good at this, especially when you see what's coming up. But it really was not that difficult to rebuild this head. The biggest thing for me was I went through several different types of spring compressors, and this was the one that worked best. I don't remember off the top of my head which it was, but by the time I got the right spring compressor, it really was not that difficult to actually rebuild this head. And it came out fairly good. The top parts and everything, we took apart a couple of times, as you'll see here.
All right. Well, I ended up having the head decked, and it looks much, much, much nicer. Nice and clean. There's just a little bit of pit there. There's a little bit of pit there, but you can barely even feel them. The biggest one, which I believe was right there, maybe. I think there was one there. There was one there. They actually filled in and then decked it. So now everything is nice and smooth. So we'll just finish kind of cleaning that up. So head's going back on. Will is putting on the nuts, finger tight to start, and then we will go about tightening everything down. Everything is tightened down to specs, and next is going to be putting the cam tower back together. And I will use a little grease to hold them in there so they hold in while I put the cam tower on. Alright, so we have our first torque down to 7.5 foot-pounds, or 10 Newton meters.
Pro tip, make sure you put the headers back on before you put the cam tower back on. It was really difficult to do it after the cam tower was already on.
Okay, double checked. Everything is torqued down to 15 foot-pounds. Everything looks, pretty good. Looks a lot cleaner. Looks a lot nicer. Hey! So I was able to get the collar on. This actually went in really easy. Almost kind of worries me a little bit how easy it went in. I was able to push it in. Now I oiled it up pretty good with some oil.
Last time you got out of the car?
All right.
Video.
So everything's hooked back up except for the back tailpipe and the muffler. But I think everything is hooked up, and we're gonna try to start it.
Possibly correct.
Big audience.
Yeah. Dad's here, brother's here, son's here. Brother's wife is inside sleeping, but not for long. So, all right.
Test one.
All right, here we go.
Hey. Not sure about this.
I think everything's hooked up.
Oh yeah, because the
But it started!
nobody died.
And I didn't hear any knocking. The band's kicked on. That's what I wanted to see. Well, I am officially a moron. So I was kind of cleaning up the bench and going through stuff and everything. And I found this box. Guess what those are? Yep. That's the valve stem seals. So I am 99% sure that I did not put them on. Well, I looked and they're not on there.
Dummy.
So I am an idiot.
Yep.
All right, she's outside. First sunlight she's seen in a year. So we just put some gas in the tank, pushed it out of the garage. We're going to get ready to fire her up and see if she'll drive.
don't think I did too bad on my first time driving a stick shift in 25 years. It's been since I've actually driven a stick. So I didn't think I did too bad.
Time for a passenger.
Or should I grab to close?
No. Grab, yeah. Don't have to slam it.
Good try.
All right.
Just look at the smile that kind of comes on his face a little bit. He's not one to show much emotion, but you can see that little smirk that he was happy it finally got to be driven.
And there it is.
You gotta love how hoopty this car looks. You know, no back hatch, no sunroof, no side fenders, no hood, squealing, going through the neighborhood. I can only imagine what the neighbors thought as they saw this thing driving through. But that was the first drive in years. This here is my first welding job that I have ever done. It was difficult, but it came out okay, I guess.
So, first welding job. That one deserves a beer. That took me 2 days to figure out and get that in. So I probably spent, I'm going to say 8 or 9 hours just getting that in.
So here's my second welding job, and this one went a little bit better than the first one. And as you can see, this is the piece that was actually cut out. So that's what was there before and then after that welding job. Here was our trip to the 944 barn. We flew into Atlanta and drove up to Blairsville, Georgia, which was about an hour and a half north of Atlanta.
Georgia. And it's actually really pretty. Couldn't see any of this last night.
Right there.
And here it is.
Yeah, it looks like he has another entrance out.
So here's his barn. I'm-44 is as far as the eye can see. All right. So we're just here at Elliot's barn, and I don't know, how many do you have here?
I don't know. There's about 45 or so, but I don't know the exact count.
You lose count?
Yeah, cars come and go all the time.
Yeah. And so how many do you strip and how many do you repair? Do you strip most of the ones that you get, or?
About half.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
It's really cool. I like the Euro one.
Yeah. Yeah, true right-hand drive.
Yeah.
From Scotland.
Yep. Yeah, because I asked you about the Euro bumpers, so I was showing him, you know, the difference between our ugly American bumpers and the nice European bumpers.
Yeah.
So, all right, so this is what Elliot calls the graveyard. So this is all of his parts cars down in here.
So this is me just painting the first item that I've ever painted on a car. It was not a professional paint job, but this was a learning experience, you know, trying different things, trying new things, things I've never done. And it went pretty well overall. And even Will kind of got into it a little bit. He really helped with the painting. Here he is just doing one of the the headlight covers. He helped a lot with the priming, sanding, all of that as well. He, you know, tried to do as much as he could. He did a really good job on the items that he painted. As you can see, you know, we've got everything kind of protected, but he didn't have any gloves on. And as he was holding this, he got quite a bit of paint on his hands. So you'll see that here. A little bit of paint on his hands. This is the paint booth, just kind of set up an outside view of what it looked like. And the everything's setting on. I just bought them from Harbor Freight for 20 bucks. This is the car when it was actually sealed. So I sealed the car and all the parts in primer, and it was just a watered down, a reduced primer. So it's a little bit thinner. So you're not actually priming the car, you're actually just sealing the car. And I decided to do that before I went ahead and put the top coat on. So this is really the transformation of this car. You could kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel once we put these top coats on. And all of a sudden it was red. Now, if you remember, this is a torch red. This is not a factory color. I didn't really like the guards red. This is a little bit more red, a little less orange. So it's a little bit different. This was that second welding job that I did. And then you can see also here the first welding job that I did in the door jamb as well. I thought the top coats went on really well. I was very, very happy with them. And I would not have a problem painting a car again with this. The problems really came into this clear coat. So this was after I clear coated the car. It was a $20 gun from Harbor Freight. It wasn't set up right, so it was really grainy. It was like almost sandpapery after I clear coated it. So I ended up having to sand it down and then re-clear coat it. The problem was, once I did, I overcompensated on my clear coat, especially on the body of the car. And there were a lot of drip marks and everything when I was clear coating it. So I went too slow because I was worried about going too fast, because I think that's part of what happened the first time. If I had to do this over again, what I probably would have done is used a single stage paint, which what was originally on the car, and therefore you don't have to clear coat it. The clear coating was the toughest part for it. It looked really good right here. I mean, if you look, you see how nice and shiny it is and everything, but as it dried, it did not dry nearly as good as I thought it would. This was one of the coolest projects I think I did on the car. A couple of things I do different, maybe make it a little shorter, but this rear seat delete was definitely kind of a cool thing to do. Once again, it's not a show car, it's supposed to be my car. But this just allows you to be able to set something on that back deck there when you get in. You can open it up if you want, and then you have a place to actually put things and hide things inside, so they're not visible from the outside. Or you can still lower that back seat and load things in from the back.
So it was a big day at Schiller Shop today. Car went for its safety inspection and passed. I did find somebody. I took a copy of the title. I explained the VIN number situation to them, and it passed just fine. So, you know, next is going to be getting plates for it, and we'll be able to drive it around.
So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Just a couple of things that I wanted to kind of go through. One of the jobs that I was most proud of by far was that welding job on that back driver's side area. You know, to this day I look at it and you still can't see where I welded that in. It came out so good. I'm so proud of that. If I had to do something again, like I stated, I probably will want to repaint the car at some point in time. You know, not a professional painter. It's the first time I ever did it. But there's definitely things that could be improved upon and probably use a single stage. And then the most dreaded thing I had in this whole journey was that bolt on the block. That just absolutely terrified me. You know, all I could see is me ruin it and then the block be bad and, you know, the car's done. So, you know, I got through those things. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the last 2.5 years of this journey. I'll keep posting videos as long as I make stuff up. If you see, you know, I've got some parts sitting on the workbench there. The rotors and stuff are for my Santa Fe that I have. I've got to do the brakes on that. But there are some parts that I do have that are going to be going on this car. And there's still some things that need to be fixed. I'll show you guys here what the list is. So here's the list of the things that still need to be done on the car as well. You know, the list just kind of grows and goes away and grows and goes away. But just the overall aspect of the cars, I think the inside came out really, really nice for the most part. You know, the door cards, things like that. Oh, you know, the other thing was the dash, you know, redoing the dash and everything. But as you can see, the sunroof's out, you know, it's really hot, so the AC's not working. So he's been driving and he didn't take it today, just because, you know, it's so hot out that without the AC, it's just too much. But all in all, I'm really happy with the car and how everything has turned out on it, and you know, the fact that we could drive it, and it's an absolute blast to drive. The engine sounds really good right now. So we'll just keep working on the things that we have to work on and keep it on the road and keep enjoying it. And we will hopefully post some more videos soon. Take care.
Thank you.